And here it is, the finished drawer system. If you've been following the DIY drawer system series, then you'd have seen it all, seen it get built over the last 6 months. But here it is all finished, and I thought I'd do a bit of a quick summary view for those who hadn't watched it, or for you just wanting to sort of catch up on all the features and bits and pieces that I've included. And it's also a bit of a summary for myself as well as a bit of a sign off for this project, because if you do big DIY projects yourself, you know that feeling when you finally finish one and you want to sort of just pat it on the bum and just send it on its way and say, yeah, I did that. And this is basically that to myself. So if it had a bum, I'd pat it and send it on its way. So the idea for this rear drawer system, and especially coming from the Prado where I had a drawer system, I had a place for my fridge, had some drawers, I had a pantry, all that sort of jazz, was really handy. And then suddenly going back to this empty void tailgate, or the boot space I should say, was really difficult. And especially with this tailgate here, it makes it really difficult to reach all the way into the back if you haven't got anything to bring things forward, if that makes sense. So I knew that I needed to put some drawers in there if I wanted to enjoy camping, because we'd find when we go out camp, everything had to get pulled out of the car, which if it was rainy or muddy or sandy, then it was always horrible, and then get put back in, which was just a big effort. So this has just made it so much better and so much more convenient to go camping, because everything's there and everything's accessible, which is exactly what I wanted. There is a lot more going on in this rear drawer system than probably meets the eye, and also a lot more going on than what my previous drawer system had, because all of a sudden it's spruiked with little bits and pieces to just sort of make it a little bit more magical, well, in my opinion anyway. So the main drawer system itself is 2 drawers left and on the left, and a fridge space on the right. I am allowing for that fridge to evolve into a different fridge at some point down the track. Keep an eye out if you want to see where that goes. And then these drawers here, basically the top one's for storage. It's got my Red Vision system on the drawer face there. The bottom drawer I've split, so the top one you pull it out, there's a pantry and a storage box behind it, lift out table so you've got more space, and then underneath is a pull out drawer with another nice big timber countertop on there. So definitely handy to have as much bench space as you can. On this I had a few comments saying, you've got the tailgate, you've got bench space, but if you start pulling out drawers, you can't use the tailgate as bench space because everything's sliding over the top. So that's what I wanted it for. All the way on this side is a storage pocket, also a patch wall. So message me if you want to get your patch on there. Basically that just lifts up on a hinge, and I store my gas stove in there, which is a good spot to sort of keep it down and out of the way. On top of this, I've built this little charge station. This is just a little pocket that I've got 2 power outlets. So I've got 2 dual USB outlets. I've got a SIG plug outlet, and I've also got an Anderson outlet as well. I've limited that to 30 amps because that's how much of an outlet I can put through the Red Vision system, and that way it's switchable with the Red Vision system as well. On top is a little storage pocket, so if you're charging your phone, you can rest your phone in there and she's all good and gold. And I've made that so it's easily removable for whatever reason if I need to change things up. On this side of the drawers, this side is fixed, so you can't actually get behind here, which is what I wanted, because I've got a bunch of hardware poking out of the side of the drawers. On the bottom is your water outlet. So this one here is just a water outlet that I've scored from Bunnings. It's got a little valve that you can open and close with a knob on the top there to obviously stop water coming through it. Push your garden hose fitting onto it and away you go. Release it and it's all done. That runs to the back where there's a 42 litre Boab upright slimline water tank. That's a big mouthful, which has been bolted to the back of the drawers. Check out the previous build episodes if you want to see how I've gone about mounting that. That runs to a 12 volt water pump, which is mounted to the side of the drawers, and that is controlled through the Red Vision system. So I can turn that pump on and off through the Red Vision system, either on the screen or through an app on my phone, which is really, really convenient. And also it self-pressurizes. It pressurizes all the line between the pump and this fitting, and the pump turns off. So I can leave that button turned on while I'm camping and then just use the garden hose, and it's great. You don't get excess water spilling out everywhere. Going up, I've got a red Anderson plug here, which is a solar input. This goes to the solar input on the Red Vision system, so it'll obviously charge the battery through that. I'm also going to split that so I'm going to have solar on the roof of the rooftop tent at some stage, but not quite yet. Probably when it becomes summer it'll be more necessary, but right now I've got that solar input there. That's more if I want to run like an extra solar blanket while I'm out camping, then I've got an easy input to do that for. I've then got 2 hardcore light switches. These are dimmable. They change between orange or white or a combination of both. Well, this one does anyway. That one's just a simple one. I'll change that out eventually. So I've hard mounted them. That's for all the lights in here. And and that one's going to be for the lights underneath the awning, which I'm yet to do yet because it's a bit of a fiddly job with the Foxwing. On top of that is a ARB hose outlet. So this is just your normal ARB chuck for the twin compressor, which is mounted in the wing of the 200 series. This is connected to a hose reel. So this one, the hose reel is mounted behind here. It is obviously plumbed through the compressor, and there's a 4-litre air tank there as well. That is switched via the Red Vision system as well. So again, on the screen or on my phone, I can turn that compressor on and off with a switch or press of a button. The switching for it is run through the Red Vision system, but because of the amount of power that the twin compressor can draw, the actual main power wires are straight off the lithium battery. And I found that's actually best because it keeps that voltage up nice and high, which the ARB compressors love, and it means that I'm also not messing with a power circuit to a high consumption accessory. That's the word I was looking for. Now all the 12 volt gear, which is all, I've got the Redarc TVMS kit 05, I think is the part number. That is all mounted up on a custom 12 volt board that I've covered the rear third row window, special name for it. That covers all that up, and because it's just a wasted space when you have drawers, and especially ones at this height. So I've got the Manager 30 down there all wired up and mounted, as well as the Red Vision system. The Red Vision system runs, I think it's 5 outlets of 30 amp and 5 outlets of 10 amp. And those you obviously need a fuse in, which you put in and then you program for the app. But all those fuses are accessible. So for whatever reason, if I blow a fuse, it's easily accessible. There's a little light that comes on when you blow a fuse, so it's easy to see which one is blown. And also, for whatever reason, the system goes haywire and it's not working, there's a manual override for each circuit. So it is a really good system in that regard because you're not 100% reliant on smartphones and digital displays and all that sort of stuff. You can go to a manual dip switch system. And the final piece of the puzzle, up the back there, is the Kaon pet barrier. It's not a full cargo barrier. Cargo barriers tend to be steel and very heavy and very over-engineered, and they obviously help in the case of a rollover. Sometimes they can be a structural member, but this is designed to be a pet barrier. It's not that heavy. It is designed to stop pets going through, but in this instance, it just finishes off the rear nicely because it means I can load up this backspace and not have to worry about stuff moving over into the middle seat. It started to rain. I better bring my stuff in, I think. Bit of a change of camera angle for you. That's how you can tell I'm pro now. So the main reason for doing this rear drawer system, obviously for the functional side of it as well, was also to sort of push my own skills. So I've got some background knowledge in building stuff and doing stuff off my own bat, which I really enjoy doing, but obviously it's all self-taught. So I love to push myself and learn new skills, and this was a great way to do it. Obviously the carpentry and everything else involved with it, all the 12 volt work, all the plumbing, all the air compressor side of things was a little bit of a step up from my previous experience, so it was really great to work through all that. It was also about taking things up to the next level with my own setup, because the previous in the Prado was quite basic. There was obviously like the pantry and stuff, which was really cool, but that was sort of its main party piece, whereas now there's a fair bit more going on. So this project started for me, I think it was about the 3rd of January this year, 2022. That's when I started to build it. I had been collecting pieces, all the sort of fittings and stuff, for about the prior 5 to 6 months, when I knew that I was going to do a rear draw system like this for the 200 series. So it was a collection of getting things all together, and then I started the project. I finished off this project, what was the date on that? The 25th of May was the final build day on this draw system. There is always going to be more work to do with it, just with sort of finessing stuff and changing things over, but that was sort of the main end of project date, where it was like, cool, this is finished. I can now put it up on Instagram and show everyone how cool it is, and also show you guys as well. So that's pretty much it. It took that long with baby stuff in the way, with family stuff, with filming, with editing, with building stuff, realizing it's wrong, having to remake it, and having to test things out as well to see if they're going to work really well. Now the two main things which I got asked about were how much does it weigh and what was the total cost of the build. Now in terms of weight, that's a nice easy one I can work with. The full draw system plus the water tank weighs 70 kilos. I made sure I went through and weighed all the separate components and then added them all up together because I was interested in seeing how much it would all weigh. and that's the finished weight is 70 kilos for the drawer system and everything. Once you load the water tank up completely, so you put 40 litres of water in there, you're talking 115 kilos that I'm putting in the back of the 200 series, which sounds like a lot, and there's a lot of drawer systems out there which will be lighter than that. I mean, by the time you add a water tank and a 12-volt system and a hose reel and everything else that I've gone into this, like the hardwood, you know, like really nice countertops, obviously you're going to be close to that, but I'm pretty happy with how light this has actually come up. And the real kicker is once you deduct the weight of the third row seats in the 200 series, which in my particular one, the 2016 VX, those things together, plus all the mounting hardware that I pulled out at Sandlot, was 45 kilos that I removed from the car. So in total, I've only added 70 kilos to the car, which is, I reckon, it's pretty good for the amount of functionality and extra stuff I've got from it. Now cost. Cost is a funny one because obviously there's labour, which I can't really quantify because it's just been such a long build. But when you're doing it yourself, it doesn't cost anything. So I'm not including labour in this. Obviously, if you're getting it made custom by a professional, they will throw on their labour cost and expect some big dollars for that. So everything construction-wise for the rear drawers, including the rear tank, cost me $1,675. I made sure to keep all the receipts and add them all up, and I was a little bit scared adding all up, but we got there eventually. Obviously that includes things like the water tank, which was about $450 off the top of my head, the hose reel, water pump, and obviously the carpet, all the timbers, bits and pieces, all that hardware, the fittings, the latches, slides, it adds up pretty quick. So that was around that sort of $1,675 for that all together. The 12-volt system, so again, this is the TVMS Kit 05, plus your water tank sensor as well, which is an optional accessory. You're talking about $3.5 grand for that all up. Again, that's just supply, and once you add in the time and labour and all the extra consumables for your wiring, your switches, your connectors, all that sort of stuff, I'd probably be adding about $200 to $300 on top of that for the 12-volt system. The lithium battery through iTech World, those cost about $899, so call it $900. So your total cost on the whole system is probably around the $6 grand mark in what's in the back of the car here, which is pretty substantial. It's a fair amount of dollars, and that doesn't include your labour cost as well. So I imagine if you wanted to set up similar to this, it would probably cost you a bit more than that to have it all supplied and installed, or it may not. You never know. Like if you can obviously get things a bit cheaper. Obviously I didn't pay for the fridge, that's obviously carried over from my previous build. So some of the things I'd probably change if I was to do this again, I would like to incorporate a pantry. I'd love to incorporate a slide out pantry like they had in the Prado. It was hugely functional and it was really handy because you could just access things really, really quickly. Like how it is at the moment, all my plates, bowls, cutlery is underneath this table. So you've got to pull the drawer out, you've got to lift the table up and then access what you need to get to, and then obviously reverse that process and put it all away. With the pantry, it was just you pull the drawer out and there it is. I would probably like to incorporate something like that in the future. I don't know how I would do it. Obviously I'd need to sacrifice some space for it. But I think once we do a bit more camping, especially with Coda around now, he tend to bring a lot more stuff with the baby. Once we condense that down and sort of figure out how we can pack things, maybe there's some space in the back here I can take up with a slide out pantry. This storage compartment I'm happy with, but I think it could be a bit more efficient in terms of how it uses its space. It's good that I can have my gas cooker in here and I never have to see it. I know it's there, I can pull it out, it fits that space really well, but I just feel like it's a bit of a void that you sort of shove, you know, like it's like putting your broom down the side of the fridge in the kitchen. It's like, yeah, it's a space you can use, but you just feel like there's maybe a better way to use it. And the final thing I'd probably reconsider would be the hose reel. Really cool idea, and it is functional and it works really well. It sometimes works really well. I've found that especially pulling the hose out and in, you tend to get to a bit where it snags or it gets jammed up and then it doesn't want to retract and you've got to sort of pull it all out, you just got to jimmy it until it eventually works. I don't know if there's a better system for it or if there's a way that you can make it work better, but I'm not 100% happy with it. Like I'm 90% happy with it. It's a really good idea. But I just think that in terms of functionality and making things 100% perfect, that would be a weaker link, and I'd probably look at updating that. I did play with the idea of doing a hose reel instead, so to have the actual water hose come out and you could use that, which I think would still be a good idea, but I'm not 110% confident just because it adds so many more connections and bits and pieces into it, And again, having that issue with the reel itself, trying to get everything to retract back in, like I could imagine you being out in the middle of nowhere, code is crying, we're behind schedule on something, the weather's turned nasty, and for whatever reason you can't get your hose reel or your air reel back in to take off and start driving. That would really annoy me, and I know it really annoys Celeste. So it's an idea I'll probably play with a little bit more. If you have any suggestions on that, please put them in the comments down below, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. So thank you guys very much for watching. This is a bit of a send-off for these rear drawers. You'll see them a lot in coming videos, but we're not going to be sort of going into too much more detail in regards to the drawer system. Again, really happy with it. There's a few little tweaks which I think everyone gets with DIY projects, but in the whole, I'm hugely proud of it. It is a system which has really increased the functionality and enjoyment I'm going to get from going camping, and also something which has pushed my skills and made me sort of learn and grow as a DIYer. I now have a bunch of extra skills that I can now use for upcoming DIY projects. The next one I'm actually jumping into today, so keep an eye out for that one. I'm going to be, and you guys can get a little sneak view, I'm going to have to wrap this one up here. This wind and rain is starting to get a little bit worse. So cheers guys, thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you in the next episode of Off-Road Crusader. Thanks.